Welcome to week 9. So didn't Roland Simpson and David Hebert do a great job with transformational or transformative learning? I really think that the materials that they put together were really good. And I know that as we move to experiential learning and the work that Steve Fugger and Julie Bachman did for us, I think that you will find just as much interesting and really both informative and entertaining information in this week 9 lesson. So as we move to week 9, I want you to be aware that for those of you who are planning a competency-based experience to submit, they are due at the end of week 9. So go ahead and submit them, and if you want to get them to your advisor a little bit early, your advisor is willing to check it over for you before it's actually submitted. With each portfolio, you can only submit twice. So you want to be sure as much as possible that it's going to be successful. So go ahead and do that, and then it will go to the review committee, and you will hear at the end of week 10 for those of you who are doing that. And at the end of week 9 for us in this class, we have a learning opportunity for which is a quiz over chapters 4, 5, and 6. And since we're reading chapter 6, experiential learning, this week, then that knowledge check or quiz will not begin until the end of the week. And so on the 11th at 5 a.m., the activity will open, and then on the 13th at 5 p.m., the quiz will close. So opens up on the 11th and closes on the 13th. Opens at 5 a.m., that's in the morning, and closes at 5 p.m. on the 13th. That's, of course, in the evening. So that's our knowledge check. Oh, it looks like I've got my dates wrong here, and I'll go ahead and switch them. So we'll get that corrected for you before we start this week. All right, let's go ahead and look at what Steve and Julie put together for us for this week. And they've got week 8, but it's actually week 9, which is chapter 6. And so chapter 6, again, experiential learning. Experiential learning as a primary researcher is David Kolb, and his work beginning in the early 80s identified a 4-step model that talks about concrete learning experience. So you're going to have an actual experience. So maybe you're riding your bike, and that's an actual experience. But then you may want to learn something specific about riding your bike. Maybe you are a mountain biker, and so you're reflecting on that particular trail that you were on. So you're reflecting on it after the fact, but notice that in Shom's work, you can reflect on it during the ride as well, right? So while you're going down that trail, you can be reflecting, or you can reflect after your ride is over, or even after that particular part of the trail is over. You can also have an abstract conceptualization. For example, you might think in your mind, okay, let's see, that trail goes to the left, and I know that I'm going to have to make a hard left, and I may have to make a jump on that particular trail. So how am I going to take that? So you're thinking in your mind how you're going to do that particular part of the ride. And then active experimentation. Okay, that jump is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to maybe reconnoiter, go ahead and take a look at it ahead of it, and then I'm going to practice just that jump, going over that fallen limb before I'm coming down in the race. So that's reflective observation. That's actually concrete experience. We have that experience, then reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and then active experimentation. Notice that that's kind of a spiral way of learning, because then you get better and better, right? As you think about and then improve your learning based on your reflection, your abstract conceptualization, and your active experimentation. So think about the things in which you do experiential learning. We do them all the time. This particular lesson for us, Steve and Julie have put together a number of different things. The reading for this week, and again it is week 9 and not week 8, is to read chapter 6 of our text. And then we've got the knowledge check that's going to open up. And again, please don't use these particular times. Remember, we've moved away from those particular times, and this is not Steve and Julie's fault. I had not corrected that when I gave them the framework template to modify. So not their fault, definitely my bad. And the times really are on the 11th, March 11th at 5 a.m., closing March 13th at 5 p.m. Okay, we don't have an activity this week because our and so we can just let this activity go because we are focusing on getting our reading done in order to do the knowledge check for this week. So that's going to take the place of our activity. There still is a forum if you wish to post something about experiential reading and the various activities that Julie and Steve have for us. So let's go back and look at some of those activities. They have put together a lesson plan for us. So let's take a look at that lesson plan. So you're going to have a typing test, and notice you can click on this link and it's going to take us through a number of different things. There also are activities and games, another way of learning. Reflect on what you've learned. Remember that the concrete experience in the typing test. Then what's next? The reflective piece on our learning. And then what are we going to do? Then we're going to have an abstract thinking about how we might do it differently. Conceptualize in our minds another approach to it. And then we're going to actively experiment. So this is what we have right here for us. So let's go back and they've put together a wonderful slide set for us, and it's provided both in PowerPoint and it's provided in PDF for those folks who have difficulty with PowerPoint. You've got some readings, including Kolb's actual research. So this is a scholarly piece, and then there are some critiques on Kolb's theory, as well as the fun with experiential learning that you will get to do as part of that 20-minute piece in our lesson plan. Again, there is an open discussion forum, but there's no activity for this week. One more reminder before we get going with our week. Our quiz opens on the 11th, March 11th at 5 a.m. and closes March 13th at 5 p.m. I'll correct these other pieces. Alrighty, let's get going with experiential learning.